Hi, second graders. Happy Friday. You're almost at the end of your first week, and I'm really, really proud of you for all the wonderful work that you're turning in. So, today I have another story about instinct. Do you remember what instinct is? I want you to actually say it out loud to somebody in the room or your dog or even to yourself. What is instinct? So, instinct is when animals are born knowing how to do something on their own. So, we're going to read about birds today and what their instinct is. The book is called How Do Birds Find Their Way? And we've all seen birds in the sky, we all have seen them go from tree to tree. We know that they migrate, but did you ever stop and think, how do they know how to do that? A lot of our cars have a GPS in it and we can type in where we want to go, but birds don't have that. So, how do they find where they go? It turns out they kind of do have a kind of GPS in them. So, we're going to read about this. It's really interesting. How do birds find their way? If we watch birds all year, we find that some seem to disappear in the fall. When the days get shorter and colder, they are flying south where it is warmer. And before I tell you, do you know what that's called? Early in the spring, the first birds begin to come back. And we're noticing that outside, aren't we? I notice in the morning there are lots of birds singing. And that's just a very happy sound to me because it's like spring is coming. Every spring, birds return north to make their nests, lay eggs, and hatch their babies. We say the birds are migrating. Migrating is when they move somewhere else. They are moving from their winter homes in the south to their summer homes in the north. Once they reach their northern homes, they will build their nests. They may build their nests in trees or shrubs or on porch ledges. Or, like the woodpeckers, they may bore holes down into trees and make their cozy nest inside. And I'm wondering if any of you have ever heard of a woodpecker making that noise. It's kind of like a hammering noise. That's how they're digging holes into trees. Some go to the same nesting area or even the exact same nest that they used the summer before. So I know some of you like to collect old birds' nests. You might not want to do it. You might want to leave it there because maybe next season, or I'm sorry, next year, a bird might come back to that same nest. So it's kind of neat to leave it there and see what happens. Long ago, this is a picture of a very, very old scientist a long time ago. Long ago, people did not know that some birds migrate. They thought that the birds would just dig holes in the ground and sleep all winter. Some people guessed that birds spent the winter in the mud or on the bottoms of ponds. Now, boys and girls, I know you know what that's called. That's hibernating, when animals sleep during the winter. But that is not what birds do. Now we know where the birds go. Boys and girls, this is a close up. And we could see this is a drawing of a claw, right? And I want you to really look at that band as I'm reading, okay? When birds start to migrate, ornithologists, who are scientists who study birds, use traps and nets to catch a few of them. They put these tiny bands on their legs and then they let the birds go. The bands do not hurt the birds, and each band has a code on it that tells where and when the bird was branded. So I'm going to put this picture up close and you can see those numbers and letters on there. So that's like an identification tag. And what ornithologists will do is they will sometimes put this on the bird. It doesn't hurt them. And they are able to track where the bird goes. So let's find out what happens. Some birds will migrate for weeks because they stop along the way. Other birds fly for only a few days. Some birds will fly thousands of miles when they migrate, and we know that orioles fly south to Panama. Barn swallows fly to Central and South America. So, boys and girls, look at this series of pictures. What text feature is that? These are for what? You say the word? You're right. Those are maps. Hummingbirds weigh only as much as a penny, yet they will fly over 500 miles without stopping when they migrate. Arctic terns will fly more than 10,000 miles all the way from northern Maine to the South Pole. But the big question back to instinct is, how do these birds know where do they know to go? How do they find their way? That is the mystery. So we know they migrate, but now the question is, how do they know where to go all those miles? Well, there's several different ways, and this is on your Google form today. So kind of listen and pay attention to some of the ways they do. Look at this picture. Do you see this bird? And do you see this right here? I bet you can tell what that is, right? So some birds will follow a river. Sometimes they might follow a mountain range. Sometimes they might follow a seashore. But many birds are able to find their way over an ocean too, where those things aren't. And there seems to be nothing to guide them over an ocean. So what keeps these birds from going in circles? Well, ornithologists have some ideas about how birds know which way is north and which way is south. Birds migrate both in the daytime and at night, and you could see the different parts of the sky where the sun is. When birds fly by day, they use the sun to guide them. They seem to know what time of day it is, and then they can use the sun's position to find north and south. They know that to fly south in the morning when the sun is in the east, they must have the sun on the left side of them. For birds to fly south in the afternoon, the sun must be on the right. And boys and girls, they know that. But what about at night? Do you guys remember what these are called? We learned about these at the planetarium. Do you remember what these pictures in the sky are called? Okay, say the word. 1, 2, 3. Yes, constellations. When birds fly at night, the stars help them to find their way. Scientists have tested this idea, and this is really cool. Listen to what they did. Birds were put in a big planetarium where the position of the stars could be moved. And that's exactly like the planetarium that we went into. Remember how the stars shone on the ceiling? And then Mrs. Hernandez was able to move them for different times of the night. Well, that's what these scientists did. And guess what? The birds flew in one direction, but when the pattern of the stars was changed, the birds flew in a different direction. So it was clear that the birds were looking at these stars and the position of the stars and how they changed. But birds can also find their way when it's cloudy, when there is no sun and there are no stars out. They fly when they cannot see the sun or the stars at night. So, how do they do that? Well, one idea is that the birds are able to use the Earth's magnetic field to guide them. The magnetic field is an invisible force that surrounds the Earth. It is strongest near the North and the South poles. The magnetic field is what makes the needle on a compass point north. Ornithologists think that some birds might have a built-in compass in their bodies. And that's kind of the GPS system that I was talking about. They have a bit of a compass that helps them know north from south. Honing pigeons, this is a close up of a honing pigeon. They are really good at finding their way. When they are taken far away from home, they usually are able to find their way back. Scientists have experimented with these pigeons. They put special covers over their eyes so that the pigeons cannot see clearly. And even when they cannot see clearly, they are still able to fly home, which is really amazing. Now, this is the most amazing, I think. Another kind of bird called a Manx shearwater was carried from England to Massachusetts in the United States, which is about 3,000 miles. In 12 days, that bird was back in England. In just 12 days. That's incredible, boys and girls, that it flew over the ocean. How do birds know when it's time to leave for the south? So, in other words, how do they know when it's time to migrate? Or at the end of winter, how do they know it's time to come back and head north again? Scientists know that birds have a built in yearly calendar. This calendar tells the birds when the days become shorter, it's fall. It is time to migrate south. But when the days become longer, like they are right now, it is spring and it is time to migrate north. So they pay attention to the length of the days. When fall approaches, birds will eat a lot of food to store energy for their flight. And then all at once they're gone. They have started to migrate. And that kind of happens. One day it just seems like all the birds are gone. Several months later, though, the birds are getting ready to migrate again. They must make their long journey to the north, and it's time to build nests, lay eggs, and raise babies. And maybe, just maybe, a bird will do that in a tree or a bush or on your playset in your backyard. So keep your eye open, boys and girls. Today's going to be a beautiful day. Go outside and look around and see if you have a nest in your yard. If you do, would you please let me know? I would love to hear about that. So, birds are pretty incredible and they have a very powerful instinct. I hope you enjoyed this story and I really loved reading it to you. So, happy Friday, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.